Visitei o país mais gordo e com as pessoas mais viciadas em cigarro e menos visitado. O pessoal está todo na merda.
Nauru, located in the middle of the vast waters of the Pacific Ocean and appearing just as a tiny dot on the map, it's the smallest independent republic. Hardly 200 people make their way to this country each year. I began this journey by arriving at Istanbul airport 3 hours early. I first flew to San Francisco in 13.5 hours. After a 7-hour layover, I took another long 13-hour flight to Nadi in the Fiji Islands and then waited again for a 7-hour layover. With nearly 75% of its seats unoccupied, the flight to Nauru from Nadi took 4.5 hours, and my 48-hour endless journey finally came to an end. This is the least visited
Mano, mas também não tem nada, não tem um caralho ali.
country in the world. Even the closest countries are thousands of kilometers away from here. Once I set foot on the island, I have to wait for the next flight.
Fizeram-lhe uma espera, bro, uma celebridade lá.
Sea travel is not an option either. Nauru is surrounded by massive coral reefs, preventing
Onde é que eles têm as casas?
approaching the shore. Until recently, the locals on this isolated island had so much wealth that they didn't even know what to do with it. Once reaching phosphate deposits in 1975, Nauru became the country with the highest GDP per capita in the world. Today, however, in these destroyed lands where no vegetables and fruits can grow, processed and fatty foods have become the norm. Topping global charts, Nauru is recognized by the world's obesity
Aí é bem, bro, 60% deste país são obesos.
Federation as the world's most obese country, with around 60% of its citizens are obese. The World Health Organization also reports that Nauru has the highest cigarette consumption
mais
rate in
cigarros.
the world. The
Sou o
government's
país que mais
effort to keep
consome
foreign
cigarro.
media away from the country
Metade
is
da
quite
população
obvious.
fuma.
After going through a month-long procedure in which I presented countless documents, I could hardly get a tourist visa. While the regular application fee is $50 Australian, an astronomical amount of 8,000 Australian dollars is demanded from journalists and media representatives as a deterrent. The
Caralho, eles cobram-te 8 mil paus que é para ti, bro. Queres bicar, pagas 8 mil paus, que assim ninguém vai.
police immediately took my drone I was carrying as I entered the country. You might have noticed something odd in the island's aerial perspective. They discouraged capturing Nauru from the sky. Filming here won't be easy because of a dirty truth that Nauru has been trying to hide, which you'll come to learn in the following scenes. I am in the Yaran region right now. Since the runway area and the driveway area are right next to each other, it's usual for the cars to give way to airplanes here. Pedestrians are warned against jet blast occurring during landing and takeoff. This is because the country is so small that the strip-shaped airport stretches across the entire southwest coast of the island.
What you see here is airport. If I want to get inside, I could just jump over this fence and I could do it.
The total area of the island is only 21 square kilometers or 8 square miles. It takes a maximum of 20 minutes to drive the whole country by car, and every journey returns to its starting point as there is only one ring road. The police are on patrol all the time. As I don't want to draw attention, I've reached out the only tourism agency in the country, and I will begin to explore the island with a guide. According to the agency, only 1 or 2 tourists come to the island in a month, so the real numbers are way lower than those stated on the internet.
Caralho, só que eu só estava acima da pedra.
Free time on the island.
Como?
Volleyball.
Bro, sei lá, mano, podia dizer.
So what do you do in your free time on the island?
Anything we want to do.
Like what?
Fishing, sleeping, eating.
Porque não trabalham. É tão fofo, mano. Olha aí. Brincadeiras mesmo de putos.
Although it is not often visited by people, Nauru has been a favorite stop for migratory birds for centuries. While the island was thought to have limited resources, its soil contained a treasure called guano made of bird droppings and marine microorganisms.
Foda-se o quê, mano? Merda de pássaros e o caralho, esse é um quê?
In 1899, German geologist Albert Ellis discovered that this plateau had high-quality phosphate reserves. Once as valuable as gold, phosphate is a raw material boosting productivity in agriculture, and during the First World War, Australia quickly annexed and turned Nauru into an overseas mining field. Except for Japan's brief occupation in 1942, the extracted phosphate was sold to the world for years at extremely low prices.
Some old people say that this cell here, Japanese used to pile people in and then close it up, put some gasoline from the rooftop and then burn them in there. Those who don't want to work for them.
This railroad, which times about to erase, was constructed in 1907 to transport phosphate mines from the lands in 3 years to the harbor on the western coast.
Caralho!
By the time Nauru gained
Fudeu-se tudo já.
independence in 1968, 35 million metric tons of phosphate had left from its shores. It's hard to believe, but in the
Foda-se.
past century, the fruits and vegetables that found their way onto the tables of many people around the world were grown with the phosphate extracted from the soil of this tiny island. After gaining independence, Nauru obtained significant wealth, and many Naurans whose lands would be used for
Nauruanos.
phosphate mining quitted their job and began counting down the days to become
vender
millionaires.
isto.
Thousands of workers from China and other
Yeah.
Pacific islands were brought to work
Olha,
in the
estamos
dirty, hot
justamente
and
do
tough conditions
continente.
of the phosphate mines.
Não
Nauru
dá
had
para
a per
colocar
capita
olha,
income
o
of
R8
around
não cabe lá, bro.
$176,000 by the year 1975, whereas in the world's leading economy, the United States had around $44,000, taking into account today's inflation rates. Nauru managed to establish
Olha.
a welfare state where there were no taxes,
Não impostos.
education,
Ah, tá lá.
transportation, healthcare services, and even
Olha, quem
housing were
promove
all
casino já lá está,
provided free
100%, bro.
of charge.
I've seen my grandma come out of the bank with the pillowcase. They put all their money inside and just walk out with the money.
Toma.
Spend it all up.
I heard that there was a police officer who bought a Lamborghini.
Lamborghini?
But he realized that he did not fit into
Ai, era
the
gordo
car.
como o caralho, não cabia.
Is it true?
Yes, that's true.
Será muito.
Even
Big
some
waste.
of the cars are bought for just decorations.
As Nauru suddenly became wealthy, a frenzy of consumption
Pois,
overtook them, and this
exatamente,
small
yeah.
island was filled with the latest
Era
car
o
models.
Texas
Along the
ali, era tudo-
roadside, we
tudo
came
para toda a
across a
gente.
collection of abandoned luxury cars from the past: Cadillacs, Jeeps, Land Rovers. These are just a
Foda-se.
few of the vehicles
Até
that the
ficam ali
island
só.
residents once used for speed and amusement on this road. It is almost like a car graveyard here. The
puta.
layer of rust on them indicates how distant the days of glory are. Ever since I got here, the natives
Sim.
have been warning me to watch out for the packs of stray pit bulls roaming around the
Pitbulls?
road. Once a popular breed, some islanders eagerly adopted these dogs and left them
Filhas
on
da
the streets.
puta,
Along with the
abandonam
dogs, more
sempre os
animals that were
animais,
not
mano.
originally present in Nauru were also brought in over time. Cat, chickens, and pigs are animals that the
Um pouquinho.
islanders have become familiar with relatively recently. When
Chillam
miners
só.
uprooted the trees and excavated the fertile soil, all living organisms were harmed. It's neither suitable for agriculture nor construction, and Naurans are suffering dire consequences of this problem.
Oh.
Nauru's terrain is covered with pits, some as deep as 15 meters or 49 feet, and limestone peaks extending from the center of
Isto.
the island to the coastal areas. No agricultural products can thrive in this barren land with its high level of acidity.
Estou a perceber.
Naurans depend on highly processed canned food from overseas, mostly imported from Australia, to sustain themselves. The average life expectancy of the people of Nauru is 64 years. The poor quality diet has
64
made
anos.
Nauru
Cachorro quente.
hold the title of the world's most
Mano, a mota, bro, quase que se enfia no cu dele, bro. Jesus.
Peace Nation
Filho, daqui a
for
bocado o teu cu come a mota.
This island, which was not yet discovered by the
Caralho.
Western world 150 years ago, was self-sufficient, but now they outsource everything. Here, 97% of men and 94% of women are overweight or obese. The obesity issue in Nauru is like an epidemic. It's everywhere. On the streets, in the restaurants, at the markets, I see people struggling with extra weight. Within a population where 45% suffer from diabetes, amputations are common. There are
caralho.
awareness-raising banners
Olha o senhor ali, diabetes, não percas a tua perna por causa disso. Não tem que ser desta forma. Bro, coitado, o homem está a ser usado como
all
o que
around the
não
country.
ser.
The store shelves are empty, as you can see. Products are imported here every 6 weeks. It's a luxury to have
E que
fresh fruits
esgota
and
tudo?
vegetables on the island. A head of cauliflower is priced at 18 Australian dollars, and a watermelon
Foda-se.
costs 61 Australian.
Uma melancia custa $61, mano. What the fuck? Os gajos são ricos, mano. What the fuck? Ah, não, é 37 euros. Mesmo assim, bro. 40 euros para melancia, bro. Está tudo bem. What the fuck?
Many residents enjoy consuming meat products that Western countries refuse to sell to their own people and instead market them as turkey tails to Naurans. This part of the animal, which is 75% pure fat, is far from being nutritious.
Isso é só gordura, mano.
Lack of living space is another drawback of phosphate mining.
São
The
ricos,
distraction
todas
has
as
left
coisas ficam mais
80%
caro.
of Nauru uninhabitable, squeezing its estimated 14,000 residents into a coastal area of just 4
Estou a
square
perceber.
kilometers or 1.5 square miles. This
Eles não
is
são um país
Waterloo,
rico.
the only untouched area
Ou já
on
não
the
são,
island
já não
that
são.
contains the original flora. It opens a door to the past. Nauru was once filled with this plant cover, but now it's all vanished. Here it's still possible to see banana trees,
Eles devem-
mango trees, and
digo que
pineapple
devem
plants.
exportar.
Rising like sculptures, the coral rock formations on Nauru's coastline reach up to 5 meters or 16 feet above the sea. The ocean floor is covered
Deve
by
ser
dead
estranho
coral
viver
rocks
aqui,
that
man.
extend about 200 meters from the shore, making it impossible for large ships to dock. Many of these are
Lembra-me um
underwater and
Havaí.
become visible only when the sea recedes. This makes it possible for the people
Mas
to
um
walk
Havaí
up
bué
to hundreds of
rochoso.
meters in water and hunt fish. With the destruction of trees, average
Caralho.
temperatures have increased
filho,
around
cuidado
30
nisso, cara,
degrees
vai para
Celsius
trás.
or 86 degrees Fahrenheit all year round. On the island, influenced by the monsoon winds seasonally, rain and time flow as well. However, no relax in rivers or streams. Islanders have limited access to fresh
Eia,
water. The
pois,
country
yeah.
produces 2 million liters of drinking water daily by treating ocean water using reverse
Okay.
osmosis at these desalination
Estou a
plants.
perceber,
There is
yeah.
an underground lake named Mokovel. Finding the entrance to this cave without the help of a local is challenging.
Nosso
as
filho
its
nasceu,
entrance
Ravox,
is quite
caralho,
narrow.
tão
During
lindo.
times of war, the
Depois
people of
chorou.
Nauru use this place both as a shelter and to access drinking water. It's filled with cans and pieces of glass. This
Foda-se,
underground
tudo
lake is
fodido.
no longer a reliable
Pois,
supply
mano, o pessoal
of
fodeu
drinking
aquela
water.
merda
What was
toda.
the religion before Christianity?
It's the god here. There's the altar on top side. If they give it food, it will come into life and then it will bring them what they were asking for.
Is there anyone who still believes in
Burra?
Buddha?
Some, they believe that this
Tem
was
Deus que se chama burra. Que não pode.
here and they
Burra, mano.
if you come and take a dip,
A
it will
burra
kill
vai
your
ter com a
skin
burra.
or maybe some other
Vira
diseases.
burra.
There's no official capital city in the country. However, Yaran district contains all of the institutions such as the Parliament House,
Okay.
embassies, the country's only police station, fire department and the airport. There are only 11 schools here, including 3 high schools and a state university.
mas ao menos tem
Almost
cenas,
everyone
bro.
on the island is fluent in English. The locals
tudo
speak Nauru
inglês.
as their first language. For example, the
Nauruano.
name Nauru itself originates from Nauruan term Anoero, which means I go to the beach.
How do you say hello?
Waiting.
Yeah.
Reiten.
How about how are you?
Como urmo. Omo.
I came to the parliament
Como
building where
mormo.
Nauru is governed. Contrary to the expected formal
Sim,
setting, it reflects
bro,
the
bem
relaxed atmosphere of the
1920,
island.
bro.
There was no security at the
Caralho.
entrance, and I have been allowed to take photos
Anda
and
cadeira,
videos
bro.
with my
Caralho, cá puta, filho. Bro, o homem tem as cores assim tão grandes, mano.
and I have been allowed to take photos and videos with my phone. With only 19 seats, Nauru's parliament is one of the smallest in the world.
Oh.
If those here knew about the scenes, I will show you later in the video.
of
They would
Thrones.
probably think twice about letting me be here. By the 1970s, the Nauru government realized that their phosphate reserves ending, and they
Que veio para
mirrored
aguentar
oil-rich
Obeso.
Middle Eastern
True.
nations by investing in overseas
pois,
properties,
petróleo.
including Nauru House in Melbourne, Nauru Tower in Hawaii, Pacific Star Hotel in Guam, Pacific House in Washington, the Grand Pacific Hotel in Fiji, and many more.
ok,
However,
assim que eles
corruption and
conseguem gerir
mismanagement
o-
put the government into a deficit of
país.
millions of dollars per year throughout the 1990s, and the savings from the phosphate quickly went up in smoke. In an effort to sustain its welfare, the government
É
aimed
só
to turn
sítio
the country into a tax
de
haven
riqueza
and got
natural
involved
e é
in a
isso.
money laundering
E o
scandal
governo,
with
pronto, lá
drug
está.
cartels, the
Claro.
Russian mafia, and organizations like Al-Qaeda.
Não me
Nauru issued
surpreende,
license
mano, não
to
me
over
surpreende.
400 foreign banks under a system that didn't require branching and allowed
Yeah.
optional record keeping. During that period, the Russian mafia alone laundered an estimate of $70 billion through the
Puta,
bank.
70 bilhões através dos. Ih, foda-se, filho.
Nauru. As a result of international pressures, the country put an end to illegal offshore
Pois.
banking activities and has been compelled to use a cash-based economy since 2004. The Australian dollar is the official currency of Nauru. A few
Right.
and only ATMs in
Nauru.
the country don't have money either. I brought some cash with me because credit cards are also not accepted here, following
Não
efforts
aceito
to
um cartão de
prevent
crédito,
money
filho. Olha
laundering.
como o outro nos morangos com açúcar começa a foder a loja toda. O quê? Tem cartão de crédito? Pum! Fode tudo.
Only one bank, which is Australian, currently operates in the country. As the year 2000 approached, phosphate reserves had run dry and phosphate export fell to 1% compared to its peak period. The country's central bank collapsed and its properties abroad were sold off one by one. We see the excavation machines in action as we move through the
phosphate?
topside. The country still continues to
Phosphate.
extract phosphate on a small scale.
If they discover another phosphate mine here, will you support mining it?
I'll just say leave the nature alone because now digging to the ground we're gonna sink.
Eles a
52% of the
rirem-se.
population lives at or below the poverty line and tries to survive on aid from the church. In low-income areas, stress triggers high levels of tobacco consumption. Roughly 1 out of every 2 individuals
Caraca,
above the age
cada
of 15
dois.
consume
Como-
cigarettes on the island. There are a total of 5 beaches on the island, and they have been partially littered with rubber tires and trash. Nauru
a ilha
agreed
tá
to
toda
accept
fodida,
unwanted
bro.
refugees from Australia in exchange for financial support in 2001. Around 1,000
A ilha tá
refugees,
toda
mostly
fodida,
of
toda cheia de
Afghan,
lixo,
Iraqi,
tudo
and
fodido.
Iranian descent, were transported to Nauru and detained for an indefinite period. On the top side, 3 refugee camps were established. People were forced to stay in plastic tents for years under the scorching sun without regular access to clean water. Many tried to escape from inhuman, miserable conditions and uncertain future by ending their lives. The ones who suffered the most from this situation were the children, who made up the majority of the camps. Australia was spending an average of $550 million each year to maintain these
Como? Tanto dinheiro assim, as pessoas viviam numa condição de pizza?
camps. In other words, the Nauru government made a profit of $500,000 for each refugee held captive on the island.
As I tried to get to these hidden areas, suddenly barricades appeared in my way. They had blocked all the roads leading to the camps located in the 3 different spots in the top side. I found a way to shoot from the outside.
For around 2 decades, these camps became the scene of numerous individuals losing their lives due to medical negligence, accidents, and taking one's own life. Recent reports indicate that these places are now completely empty. However, the locals have no specific knowledge about this matter. Currently, Nauru is counting down the days to engage in deep-sea mining in collaboration with the Canada-based metals company. Their plan is to extract polymetallic stones that only grew a few millimeters per million years. These stones containing metals such as cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese found in batteries will be the energy source of the near future. Scientists warn that these mining operations, putting marine life at risk, could potentially reduce the ocean's capacity to absorb carbon and accelerate climate change. The illusion of wealth that suddenly Nauru got itself into in the late 1960s caused a generation to not understand the importance of artwork and education. The government did not make future plans and exhausted all the nation's resources. It seems almost impossible to build a better future here without the necessary motivation, skills, and knowledge. This small island with wounds that can never be healed basically stands before us as a summary of what is going on in the world and as a lesson that humanity should always remember. Thank you for watching this documentary. I hope it added value to your worldview perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in the next one. Ruhi Chenet was here.
Ele nunca mais vai poder voltar a este país, bro. Matam-no. 100%. O que ele mostrou aqui é fodido, mano. Foda-se, bro. Um exemplo de como não gerir um país, mano. Que triste, bro. Pessoas em condições de merda, mano, e o país a receber guita como ao caralho. O que é que eles fazem? Se foda, mano. Se foda, bro. Por isso é que um gajo queixa-se do nosso país, mano. Pá, mas depois vemos outras realidades, é tipo, foda-se, bro. Pá, mas olha, ao menos um gajo não sobrevive. Estas pessoas... coitadas, mano. Sei lá, bro. Um gajo... Não vou entrar por aí, mas é fodido, mano. É fodido. O nosso país é dos piores do mundo? Oh, mano, não podes dizer isso, bro. Não podes dizer isso, mano. Eu acho que o nosso país não é dos piores do mundo, bro. Há muitos países bem piores. Bem piores, mano. Eu acho que não é, mano. O nosso país... tem muita boa coisa, mano. A única coisa que nos fode efetivamente é como nós somos governados, mas isso é em todos os países. No entanto, temos bastante pobreza, mas de resto, estás a ver? Tipo, eu diria que tipo, não estamos nada mal, mano. O país, basta só investir mais no povo, mano. Acho que é só isso. É só investir mais no povo e não tanto em negócios e blá. É dar um bocadinho mais ao povo, mano. É só isso. Porque de resto estamos fixe, mano. E o ensino, sim, o ensino também precisa de ser melhorado. Também concordo com o ensino. Aliás, se eu alguma vez tivesse algum cargo, sei lá, mano, não cargo lá, mas é tipo, na educação, bro. Eu adorava poder ter alguma mão na educação, de tornar a educação, tipo, mais fixe, do pessoal querer aprender mais, sabem? Tipo, de dar mais, de tornar aprender e a educação em geral, tipo, melhor, mano. Adorava fazer isso, mano. Gostava muito de ter nem que fosse, tipo, só poder ajudar um bocadinho. Pior é o nosso poder de compra, de resto somos um país incrível. É isso, mano, é isso mesmo. Que eu acredito que nós temos tanta coisa de qualidade, mano. Antigamente não havia estes turismos, era só o povo. É verdade, bro, mas com o turismo vem mais dinheiro, mas também vem menos dinheiro para nós. Estás a ver? Tipo, é um balanço que é fodido de fazer. Eu não posso falar porque eu não estou informado quanto a isso, chato. Eu gostava também de poder falar, ter melhores informações quanto a isso, mas não tenho, então mais vale abster-me. Quando eu não sei falar, eu não falo.